Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for being on time. Those of you with cameras on, I like you better. I just want to remind you guys, I appreciate it. I did not send out a topic for this meeting because really I wanted to see how the prospecting went this week, and I was going to kind of cater what we did in training to that. I think the topic I picked today is very apropos. It's the first time I've ever done a real training specifically on this, or at least first time in a long time. Did a bunch of research, videos, reading last night, this morning to dial it in. And so I'm excited to see what you guys think about it. We're talking about positive thinking, positive self-talk, and affirmations. And really, even more importantly than just that, how our brains perceive negative information and positive information, and how understanding the science behind that should inform how we approach things like prospecting. And so you guys have now been through, hopefully you're coming to these power hours. And I'll just say this, by the way, and I don't want to be an alarmist, and I'm not trying to scare anybody into doing anything. I just want to be real about it. The industry is off about 30% in production in October over September. You know where we were in September, you know where we were in June. We're doing about half as many originations as an industry now as we were in June, and June was not a good time. If you aren't doubling down on your activities, prospecting and changing behavior, you could have been a 4 or 5 loan a month loan officer last year, and you could be out of the business come this winter. And I'm not saying that to be an alarmist. I'm saying it to you so that you understand where we're coming from right now. And so even for you guys who are managers, if you have people who are not hitting their minimums and are not coming to these trainings or coming to the power hours, you got to ask yourself about, are you investing in the right people? This is the time to double down. And so I know a lot of you guys are coming. It's great. And we're sharing that. It's an awesome thing. And I think we're getting a lot of success out of it. But there is no shortcut. And I'll tell you, on Monday, you were probably gung-ho about it. And then yesterday, you probably took another call that wasn't realtor related, but it looked like you were on the phone and you passed that off. And you're like, well, I still did my power hour. Because you're human and we're all bad at this shit. Double down. Today, call only realtors, do only prospecting, don't cheat yourself. The goal isn't to fool me. I don't care. The goal is to get results for you, right? And so don't do the normal human thing, which is, hey, we work out really hard, we diet really hard on Monday, and then by Wednesday, we're eating ice cream. Don't do it with this. Today is a day to reaffirm your commitment to prospecting every day and your commitment to being a better version of yourself and changing behavior. So what happens? First of all, all the research I did last night, this morning on this topic, there's a woman named Allison Ledgerwood, did a TED Talk. I'm going to steal a lot of stuff from her. I thought she did this in a way that really spoke to me. And so I'm going to steal a bunch of her stuff, and you can go check it out on your own. But before I hop into that, there are 2 books. Ninja Selling obviously talks a lot about affirmations. When I first read the book, it was the only part of the book that I didn't immediately buy into. I am the type of person who is naturally wired to be cynical about these sorts of things that don't lead to results. I have learned over the last 4 years to be far less cynical about it, and it has changed a lot of the things in my life. I also read a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you haven't read it, it's like so many of the top entrepreneurs in this country and business people will tell you that was one of the first books they read or it changed their life. And that entire book is about preparing your brain and opening your brain to the pathways of success by writing down your goals and positive affirmations and leading yourself towards those things so that you see them. Right? When we're negative, all we see are negative things around us, and when we're positive, all we see are opportunities around us. Both things are there all of the time. What you're wired in to see is the difference. So I want to talk about that. You probably had this experience this week a little bit. You probably had some prospecting calls that went really well. So you're at baseline right now. You have a prospecting call that goes really well. You're like, oh, serotonin, this feels so good. And then probably like 45 minutes later, you're back to baseline. Because that's how we receive the good things that happen to us. You also probably had some negative prospecting calls. Maybe they weren't even that negative. And so you were baseline, you're like, oh, that hurts. And then you kind of came back up a little bit, but you never got back up to the line. You hold on to those negative experiences. What could I have done differently? Why did this happen to me? Maybe I'm not that good. And it starts to feed into your negative experiences, right? And I'll talk about other areas of life where this becomes very obvious. We talk about having to change behavior. So here's just some science stuff on this. There's research that shows if you describe a glass of water as half full or half empty, most of you guys have heard of this, you have a gain frame on the half full or a loss frame on the half empty, it changes the way people perceive the glass. just by using those words to say it. Right? We have science behind this. Well, the really interesting answer is, how hard is it to switch someone's thought process on that? So they did some studies at UC Santa Barbara I want to go over with you guys. They told people there was a new surgery with a 70% success rate. Half the people heard there was a 70% success rate. And those people perceived this surgery as being really good. Then they took another group of people and said the surgery had a 30% failure rate. And those people perceived the surgery as bad. We are bad at that part of it, right? But here's the part that's far more interesting. They then reframed for the 70% of people that they told the surgery was good. And they said, hey, the other way you could look at this is that it's also 30% of people failed. And those people immediately changed their opinion about this new surgery. But when they told the 30% failure group that the way that you could change this was to go to that it's a 70% success rate, they held in their negative perception. In other words, we are biased towards negative things, and we have a hard time changing our mind once something is negative. We have a very easy time giving up on something that's positive. So whatever your thoughts are on your last 3 days of prospecting right now, realize that your biases are to remember the negative, hold on to the negative, and dismiss and forget about the things that worked for you, which is why nobody does it. I hope the thing you learned most from doing these power hours is that nobody was doing this without the group, even though everybody knows it's the most important thing, right? It's wild. It's a wild thing to think about. It's because we hold on to the negative stuff more than the positive. It hurts us more. And by the way, this is biologically programmed into us. Why is that? Well, if you find a little food somewhere and you're foraging, you remember that. That's a good experience, right? If you run into a porcupine, that can kill you. And so we have a bias in the survival essence to weigh more heavily our negative experiences than our positive ones, because our positive ones can keep us alive for another day and our negative ones can kill us forever. And that's how we perceive these things on an evolutionary basis. And so we have to work super hard to get out in front of this. And the science says we can do our brains. They did another study. They said there's a governor of an important state up for re-election. They said when this person was originally elected, they said that the new budget cuts this person brought in were going to cost the economy 10,000 jobs. They then told the first group of people that this governor was able to save 40% of those new jobs. And people were like, oh, we should re-elect that guy. Then they told another group of people 60% of those jobs were lost. And they hated that guy. But then they tried to reframe again. And they said to the first group, the positive group, just so you know, that doesn't mean that 60% of those people lost their jobs. And they immediately hated the governor. We're going to vote for him. They told the second group, but you do know he saved 40% of those jobs. No change. Still negative. We want to focus on the negative. Again, it's evolutionary. It's a survival instinct. We're biased towards the negative. When we stay there, it's harder to change our minds. So the law of frame sticks. I'll give you another little piece of research that shows how hard a time we have with this, okay? They said there's a new one. They gave 2 test groups. This is all still at UC Santa Barbara, 2 test groups. They said there's a new disease affecting 600 people. And they have a new treatment that was going to save 100 lives. How many people died? And then they did to the same group and they said there's a new treatment and it's going to lose 100 lives. How many people are going to survive? Right? Same equation, right? 600 minus 100 is 500. In the first framing, where it was a gain question, it took people an average of 7 seconds to come up with the answer. Still embarrassing, by the way. Should be faster than that if you guys have a mortgage. But in the second group, where it was a loss framing, it took people 11 seconds. Our brains lock up on this loss stuff. It actually affects our cognitive ability when we're in this negative space. And so I would venture to guess that if you looked at the people who are most successful in this job, it is the people who either have a natural tendency or a focused tendency to find a way to focus on the positive things that are happening to them, And the people who are struggling are finding a way to find the negative things. And by the way, it's easy to find negative things today. But I'll tell you what, I was around a whole lot of people who during the middle of the pandemic found a whole lot of negative things to focus on in the mortgage industry as well. My turn times suck. We have these crappy new underwriters. There's all these changes. No one knows what they're doing. Oh, there's always stuff to complain about. And by the way, I'm not immune to any of this. I don't sit here and say I have this all figured out. But one thing I will say is that for me, consistently in my career, and this comes from sports. In sports, I cared so much. And you lose half the time. If I look at all the teams I was on, I lost a lot. I was on some really bad teams. And what you learn from that experience is that losing is part of the journey and that it's okay. And that you don't have to stick on the negative with that. It's like, that's just part of the experience, is that what makes winning so magical is the losses. Brett's favorite sales book is Go for No. It's the same thing with the prospecting, right? If you can reframe your losses into experiences gained, right, it changes that process. I see this with my kids. My oldest daughter, Samantha, the minute she's not good at something, she wants to stop doing it. I'm like, why do you have to be good at this thing? And she starts off, by the way, she says, I'm great at this. I go, oh, you've never even done it. She goes, nope, trust me, I'm great at it. Then we do it. She's not great at it. She's like, well, I don't want to do it anymore. It's like, no one's good at it the first time, right? What makes it special and what makes it worth it, and the reason why you can make $1 million a year as a loan officer, is because most people don't go through the hard stuff of getting through it. And so when you reframe that experience, and we're going to talk about positive affirmations in a minute in terms of how we experience these things, it changes our experience and our results. But if I tell you that the biggest detriment to you guys surviving this winter, and I know it's a dramatic way to say it, but I'm going to say it that way, is that you will let your negative thoughts prevent you from doing the activities more than you will not succeed in doing the activities. That should be a very scary thought. How can you control that thought process? How many of you guys got at least one or two really positive things from the prospecting calls over the last 3 days? How many of you guys raising your hand are still not excited about doing it today? You can be honest. That is what that is. That is the thing you need to be fighting. I've been doing the prospecting calls too. I have a 2 to 3 for loan officers. I've had some really good conversations. I am not looking forward to it today. Right? I had to frame that in my mind. By the way, I'm going to power through and do it because that's how I'm wired. I have a commitment. I'm going to do it. But next week, I'd like to find a way to focus on the positive stuff so I am excited to do it. I'd probably get better results and have a more powerful day if I got excited to do it. Why am I not excited to do it? Because of those negative experiences, even though I can't remember what they were, they hold over it. And I enjoyed it for the most part, right? But that icky feeling of when one goes bad, it stays with you longer. We have to be able to overcome it. So we tilt towards the negative. I'll give you some other examples in life that might resonate with some of you guys. Has anybody here ever done any sort of gambling in any sort of a way? A lot of people, right? Especially my guys in here, right? When I win $200, it goes into my account. Cool, I won. I'm almost like a relieved. When I lose $200, I immediately think of all the stuff I should have bought with $200 or could have bought with $200. It feels awful. It feels 3 times as bad to lose as it feels good to win. The winning doesn't change anything for me. And really at this point with those small amounts of money, because I gamble, if I gamble, it's $50 a game type of deal, the losses don't change anything either. But my psychological impact from losing is far greater than my psychological impact from winning. And by the way, thank God, that's the reason why I don't have a gambling problem, right? Because I'm like, this doesn't feel good. Keeps you away from it, right? And so we have this bias towards the negative. Why? Right? And that's a healthy thing, right? Because if you're a bad gambler and you go on a losing streak, it can ruin your family, it can ruin your life. I've seen it with people, right? The loss aversion is healthy evolutionarily, right? But we have a bias towards that losing. The losing feels worse than the winning feels bad. When you win a lucky hand at poker, you're not like, man, I'm so lucky. You walk around thinking about how good your luck is the next 3 days. But if you're at a 95.5 chance of winning and the wrong river card comes out, you'll remember that for the rest of your life. When we're unlucky, man, does that hurt. Is that everybody else's experience too who's been a gambler? Right? Very rarely do you remember the wins like you remember the losses. And so here's what the research shows, guys. Spending time every day writing out your gratitudes in the morning, spending time on the things you're grateful for, actually changes your happiness levels, your overall well-being levels, and in some studies, your actual health. Practicing this process changes your life. I noticed it right away. I was working out in this gym in New Jersey before I moved down here, and there was this woman who worked there. Her name was Brittany, and she would make fun of me all the time. She'd be like, "All right, Mark, keep lifting weights, but we'll wait for you in the yoga studio." And she'd walk by and she taught the yoga classes. So finally, she shamed me enough into going to yoga. And by the way, it was amazing, great experience. But at the end of yoga, we'd spend that 5 minutes thinking about the things that we were grateful for. And I found myself in a better mood all day. Then I started doing it on my own, started finding some meditation, doing some other things, right? It changes my mood, right? There's so much stuff to be focused on that's negative, but just remembering the things you have that are going well for you every day changes your psychology and well-being. How many of you guys have a practice every day of either writing or saying your positive affirmations in the morning? Nobody. So if I just said to you, there's science that says you will live a healthier, happier life to take 5 minutes to write these things down every day, and none of us are doing it. Why is that? Is it because we don't believe the research? First of all, it's kind of like believing in God, right? There's no harm, right? It can only be good, right? It's called having faith. Second piece of it is there's research, right? Anybody here have done the positive affirmation thing and was like, this really didn't work out for me? It was awful.
Well,
Go ahead,
Mark,
Fred. Yeah.
I struggle with that. Like even when I talk to people on the phone, like asking what's positive, like I see like a pattern. Like I struggle, like not struggle to find good thing. I'm very happy with my life and what I have, but like you see, like I see a pattern. Like it tends to be like the same things over and over again. Is that like
That are
normal, you
negative,
think?
that are negative?
Negative and positive. Like, like what am I grateful for? Well, I can pay my mortgage payment, like my family. Like there's things like, do you think that if I don't know what your study says, but like should we
Well,
be digging deeper, like other things too? Like I don't know. Like I
yeah,
struggle
I
with that.
think you should try, right? And so I'll give you an example. So in the video that I watched, that I'm talking about with this woman, she says, she'll come home from the day. And by the way, you guys probably all do this. They go, how was your day at work? How was your day, honey? And immediately people start talking about the negative things that happened to them that day, right? This is a really bad habit. We think this is going to help us. It actually puts us in a worse mood, and it certainly puts our spouse in a worse mood, right? And sometimes I walk into that, and my wife works here, so it's somewhat awkward. Sometimes I walk into that, and I'm just like, I don't even have the energy to try to focus on something positive, but I usually try to go like, hey, what good things happened? Right? Try to reframe that conversation. And there's always stuff, right? And so, yes, first of all, the first thing I think about every day, and I'll get emotional if I talk about it, is that my children, I have 3 of the happiest, healthiest, most beautiful children in the world. And by the way, you have to be grateful for it every day, because if you know anyone going through something that is not one of those things, nothing else matters. Right? And so I start there every single day. At the same time, I'm so grateful for so many of my experiences throughout the day here. Right? I'm grateful. I could have had a really bad day yesterday, but if I think about it, I had a bunch of individual interactions with some of you guys that were super rewarding. I had a loan officer, $170 million producer, reach out to me because she was struggling with her business. Her favorite realtor sent her the Ninja Selling podcast episode that I was on, and she reached out to me on Instagram and Facebook to connect because she wanted to get to know me. That was awesome, right? I'm meeting with her later on today. That was awesome to make a difference for somebody that way where she wants to connect now, right? There's a million things in your day that happen that were super positive, right? And so you can focus on those. But yes, I do think to answer your question, I think diving deeper is super important, right? yes, the big things we should not forget that on the big things right now. And you make it seem like, yeah, I can pay my mortgage. It's like, well, if you can't, nothing else matters, right? And so, or I mean, unless somebody's sick, right? And then you talk about those things. Yes, and you should remember those things. But yes, it's about the positive directions. The woman in the things talks about the student that came to her office who was super inspired and had questions, and she had to have a good conversation with that person. That was rewarding in her otherwise bad day. You guys, if you're doing this job correctly, should be making a difference in the lives of the people around you. I have a right now, honestly, and this is not a joke, between some of the stuff I do on the side, the speaking event that I did in Alabama with Diana's team, the Ninja Selling podcast, I have a realtor or a loan officer or the posts I'm putting up on to me every day, telling me how happy and amazed they are with or how something in my content is making a difference for them. That's amazing, right? I generally hate doing the social media stuff in the videos, but if I remember how grateful I am that I'm getting to make an impact with those people, it's the engine I need to keep going, right? By the way, me doing consistent social media has been a 10-year battle with myself, right? I have to focus on the positive pieces of it. Otherwise, I will stop doing it, right? I think it's really important. I also am not drawn to it naturally. I have to find ways to make it happen. Same thing with your prospecting. There is no shortcut to growing your business. You have to find a way to double down on your prospecting in a way that is going to make a difference for you. Your number one priority is not just to do it, but it's to continue to find a way where you like doing it and where it feels rewarding, where you're focused on the fact that this is making a difference for you. That is the battle of the moment. How can you feel good about the activities that you know you need to do to get going? And so the training today is about, guys, theory and knowledge are useless without changes in habits and behavior. I recommend putting a 5-minute calendar on your calendar every morning. If these trainings start at 9:15, maybe your day starts at 9 or 9:15, whatever it is. At 9:10, before the training starts, write down 3 things you're grateful for every day. See what happens. Do it for a month. Right? Challenge yourself to say, hey, one thing for you, one thing that's a staple thing, my mortgage, my kid, whatever else it is, and then 2 things that are specific to yesterday that you can be grateful for. Maybe it's the fact you got to share a meal with your wife. Maybe it's the fact you got to talk to an old friend you haven't talked to. Maybe it's a reconnection with a realtor that you thought you lost touch with. Maybe it was a rewarding moment with somebody on your team, right? Find those individual things and write them down. It will make a difference for you and how you feel all day, and it may make you a healthier person. The purpose of these trainings, the reason why you guys are coming here is to change behavior, right? We have to change behavior to get different results. And so the power hours this week are about changing those behaviors, right? We're going to prospect. Cool. But you guys can already probably feel, if you're being honest with yourself, that you didn't put the same effort and enthusiasm into yesterday as you did Monday. Great. We've identified that we're human. Today is the day we rally back to overcome it. Yeah, Monday was easy. You called all the realtors you were most excited to call. Wednesday, you had to call some that you were less excited to call, right? That's just real. But find the things you're grateful for. How do we filter out the negative? And if you're already thinking about negative thoughts about this, what did that research just tell us? It's very hard to shift. This is a movement. If you're the person who's in the habit of sharing your negative stories with people, stop. I used to do culture training for every new employee, something we got away from when towards the end of the pandemic, just got crazy. But one of our rules here was that, we're not going to share negative stories with each other. Right? We're not going to be the spreaders of negative information. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help them. Right? That's a victim mindset. We want to be players. We want to focus on the positive, things that we can control. Right? And we all do this. We all slip into it. But the number one thing that you can do for somebody else is, hey, listen, it feels like you're sharing a lot of negative information right now. How can we shift? And it might be a little bit annoying, but that little bit of annoying can save that person from having a really bad day or the continuation of those things. And so it's not me. These really smart people who read Think and Grow Rich swear by this affirmation process. You know what? I've never met anyone who was like, I've been doing this affirmation thing for 30 years, made no difference. Never heard that, right? A long obedience in the same direction, which is continuing to grow and challenge ourselves to do the small things that make the big differences. Well, our mindset and how we feel about our jobs are the difference. And in a world full of negative information normally, specifically an extra negative right now, we need to take care of ourselves in a way where we can bring enthusiasm to our jobs. Because by the way, if you want to attract the right realtors, not just realtors, but the right ones, the ones that'll be good partners for you, the ones that are also attracting good clients, you have to be in a positive mind frame, because the positive realtors are going to be the ones attracting the positive clients. And none of them are going to want to work with somebody who's in a negative space. Right? And so we have to be able to bring that positivity every day to every call. And we're not trying to fake it or channel somebody else or pretend we're somebody else. We're actually trying to spend as much time as we can in that low positive energy quadrant. If you guys have not been here for an energy quadrant training, go to the selling system. It's in there. We want to be low positive. And I'm going to share one more thing with you. I talk about going to open houses all the time. Most of you guys do not do it consistently. This weekend, you should go to open houses. You should go to 5. You should do some positive affirmations before you start. And you should make sure that you're in the low positive energy quadrant when you walk in. What is low positive? Calm, relaxed, smiling, at your best, ready to ask questions and listen, confident that you're looking to build meaningful relationships, that you're not going to ask for anything. Because by the way, if we're going to survive the winter, and survival looks different for everybody, we're going to have to do the stuff that we've been unwilling to do and change behavior. And so again, I can't make anybody do it. I'm not trying to, but this is not the moment to run and hide. By the way, a lot of loan officers and a lot of realtors are, which is great. It's great for you. It's the opportunity. And what a shame it would be if you come to all of these trainings and learn all of this stuff and never put any of it to use. Then you'll just know you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Congratulations. Fred.
Just so I can touch on that open house thing. Like, I know I talk and people, I'm boring, but like going to open houses and
No negative self-talk, Fred. You're smart and successful, and everyone wants to hear from you.
I'm incredible. Please listen to me. But going to open houses, it is, I know, Brett, is like weird sometimes, but like going to open houses in your own neighborhood is like the easiest thing in the world. Yo, this is my neighborhood. What's going on? And like, so easy. So I just, if you're nervous still about going to open houses, and I do slack that now with whether I need to get back to it, I'll be honest about that. But like, it's very easy to walk in an open house in your own neighborhood.
Guys, by the way, if you're nervous to go to an open house, you're thinking about it wrong. It's because you're trying to get something out of it. Just go to the open house to see the open house and to meet people in a low positive way. And if you happen to meet a realtor, talk to them and ask them about themselves, and then divorce yourself from any other outcome. They are so excited somebody walked into their open house. Right? And by the way, all of you guys should be interested in what's going on with the real estate market in your area right now. You can learn a lot by going to open houses. I've been doing this with some of the realtors that I know here, or the ones that I don't know. I'm like, hey, I'd love to connect for 15 minutes to talk about what you're seeing in the marketplace. Everyone's like, yeah, 100%. 100%. Everyone's willing to have a conversation right now because they want to know what you think, what you're seeing. Right? It's so easy right now. The only reason it's not easy is because you're attaching yourself to trying to get something out of it other than just finding a way to deliver value. And so if you summarize this week's trainings, yesterday and today, be a go-giver. Look for opportunities to deliver value. Put other people's interests above your own, right? So that you can influence them, right? Be in a low positive energy quadrant. Find positive affirmations. Tell yourself you're great at going to open houses. I'm awesome at having conversations with new people. People like me when I have those conversations. This is going to be the difference for me in my 2023 goals. While everybody else's business is shrinking, I'm going to make sure that mine grows. These are the stories we need to be telling ourselves right now. And when you say that to yourself, you don't believe it, say it again and again and again until you get there, because the only thing in your way is that negative self-talk. Here's some of the things that I'm telling myself right now. I was born to be a sales leader in this type of moment. These difficult moments, man, that's when I'm at my best. And then what it starts to do for me is I start to see opportunities everywhere to be better. What do I mean by that? Well, if I'm going to be the best sales leader for this moment, then this is the training I'm going to do, even if I don't have one prepared. And I'm going to go ahead and do the research and make sure I watch the videos and read the books and get in the right stuff. And I'm going to be intuitive about what my team needs and deliver that information in a way they can digest. And I'm going to push them towards doing more stuff, but not for me and for them. And I start to look at all those different things because I'm committed to being the best sales leader for this moment. And you guys should be committed to being the best loan officers, the best branch managers, the best partners to your referral partners that you can be in this moment. I'm the best. I was made for this moment, tell yourself. Anybody can do it when it's easy, but me, I'm the guy who gets going when the going gets tough, or the woman, right? I was born for these moments. Hard is what I do. That's the story we want to be telling ourselves right now as a team. Paige.
I was just gonna say something about open houses. A couple of, like a month or two ago, I went to an open house and I met this girl and we just, you know, I liked the way she dressed. I like, we just started talking about kitchens and all of this stuff and just kind of got to know her. And when I was leaving, I said, let's have coffee sometime and we can talk about, I think I said business. And she stopped and she looked at me. She goes, or we can just get together and just talk and get to know one another. And she wanted to get to know me because we connected. And that's how you build the relationships with those realtors when you go to those open houses.
Yeah, guys, and I know it's so hard when you're getting started or that your needs are not being met, right? And I get it. Like it's if you're like worried about how to pay your bills, this is really hard. But I promise you, if you go out there and just look for, hey, I'm gonna make this person's life better. By going to this open house, I'm gonna add value to this person's life. I'm gonna find a way, or decide this is not the person for me to do that with, and I don't want to do it. But I'm going to look for ways so I can provide value. And you do that in every interaction, the loans will fall from the sky. 50 interactions a week, 54 conversations a week where you are always looking to give and give value, the loans will fall from the sky and it will feel good. And you don't have to be manipulative. You don't have to have some sort of a strategy. And you don't have to be like, if you're going into this being like, all I want is loan right now, I have to fake it so that this person will like me. Like, that's not going to work for you. It's not going to feel good. And you're not going to keep going. If you're like, man, I really enjoy going to open houses so I can learn about the real estate market and meet interesting people, and that's the vibe you have going in and you let the rest take care of itself, man, is that going to work for you? You all know people in your lives who have that vibe. The people who like it looks to them like money never matters. They're just there and they enjoy what they're doing and they're in a good mood. Those are the people that you like and want to work with. That's the vibe. If it feels like you're there because you're calculating the amount of money you can make from each open house you go to, people are not going to be attracted to that, especially not the right people.
Go giver, Mark. He walks around that office and could care less about work or anything like that.
Yeah, read the book. It's great. It's a very quick read, and it will put you in the right frame of mind. Any questions about positive affirmations specifically? By the way, all it is I am, right? I am the perfect loan officer for this moment. I am the type of loan officer that provides value to my referral partners. I'm the type of person who loves the fact that it's hard right now. You just start with that. Positive affirmations, gratitudes. I'm so grateful that I get to work with this person, that I have this referral partner, that my kid is doing well in school, that whatever other things you're coming up with, there are always those things also. And just start there. It takes 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes. Put it in your calendar. 5 minutes before training. Instead of starting training in your calendar at 9:15, start at 9:10. Come in and write the stuff down. For the 5 minutes, I'm going to give you back 5 minutes today. Start right now. Right now, 3 affirmations, 3 things you're grateful for. I'm going to do it. You can do it. We're going to do it together. And then we're going to crush our Realtor Power Hour later because we're going to be in the right frame of mind to do it. We're going to be grateful for the opportunity to do it.